I showed up at my parents' house on Easter morning with a basket full of treats, a bottle of wine, and every intention of spending the holiday wrapped in warmth and family traditions. It was just past 10. The spring air carried the scent of damp earth and blooming tulips. I expected to walk in on Mom basting the ham, Dad already sunk into his favorite chair with the Sunday paper. But the door was locked. I knocked, waited, then knocked again. No answer. Mom? Dad? I called out, hoping they just couldn't hear me. Still nothing. I pulled out the old spare key they gave me years ago and unlocked the door. The moment I stepped inside, a chill ran down my spine. The house was empty. Not just they went out to the store kind of empty, no. This was stripped. Lifeless. Wrong. The living room was bare of its usual warmth. No family photos on the shelves. Mom's colorful throw pillows? Gone. No signs of Easter. The kitchen was spotless, unnaturally so. Had I gotten the date wrong? Then I heard a voice from the second floor. What are you doing here? I looked up to see my sister Lana standing at the top of the stairs. She wore a silk robe and held a champagne glass like it was a casual Sunday. I came for Easter, I said, confused. Where are Mom and Dad? They don't live here anymore, she said, taking a sip. I told them to move out. This is my house now. I froze. My heart thudded against my ribs. I moved through the house, checking room after room. It was true, their things were gone. Every photo, every sweater, every teacup. All replaced by Lana's high-end furniture and her taste in art. The bathroom smelled like her perfume. The fridge was stocked with her favorites, smoked salmon, sparkling rose, tiny imported cheeses. Standing in the kitchen, it hit me, this wasn't a visit gone wrong. This was something darker. You kicked them out? I whispered. She shrugged, casual as ever. They agreed. They're old. A small apartment suits them better. And I needed the space. This was their home, I said, barely controlling my voice. It's mine now. But something didn't add up. My parents wouldn't just walk away from this place without a word. And they definitely wouldn't leave it to her. No, something was very, very wrong. And I was going to find out what. I stepped outside to the backyard, hoping maybe I'd find something, anything that hinted at where my parents had gone. But what I saw made my stomach tighten. Dad's garden, which he lovingly tended every spring, was gone. Dug up and buried under sterile white gravel. The raspberry bushes he'd bragged about all last summer? Ripped out. I barely recognized the backyard where we'd grilled sausages and laughed just last Easter. My phone. Why hadn't I called them right away? I pulled it out and dialed Mom. Ringing, 1, 2, 3. The number you have dialed is currently unavailable or out of service. Try Dad. Same result. Back inside, Lana was lounging on the couch, tablet in hand, scrolling through high-end furniture sites like nothing had happened. Where do they live now? I asked. She sighed dramatically, not even looking up. Why do you care? Because they're our parents, I snapped. Give me the address. With a casual shrug, she reached into a drawer and handed me a slip of paper. Like she'd been waiting for me to ask. An address just outside the city. A quiet suburb. You won't understand anyway, she said as I walked toward the door. They chose this. Remember that. An hour later, I stood outside a dull, gray townhouse wedged between two others just like it. No garden. No welcome mat. Just square windows with closed blinds and silence. I knocked. Nothing. I knocked again. A small click. The door creaked open barely an inch and I saw Mom's eyes through the gap. She looked older than I remembered. The lines on her face were deeper, but it was her eyes that hit me hardest. There was something in them I'd never seen before. Guilt? Fear? Mom, what's going on? She opened the door wider, wordless. The house was dim and still. No smell of food, no signs of holiday cheer. It felt hollow. Cold. Then I saw Dad. He was sitting by the window, staring blankly at the wall. Son, he said without looking at me. You shouldn't have come. What happened? Why did you leave? She said you chose this. We did, Mom said quietly, sitting beside him. We had no choice. I dropped into the chair across from them, heart pounding. What does that mean? Dad's eyes didn't move. His voice was low. She found something. My breath caught. What did she find? He hesitated. Then, in a voice so soft I barely heard it. Something we buried 30 years ago. What exactly did she find? I asked again, my voice low, tight. Dad remained silent. Mom clutched his hand like she feared he might fall apart. There were tears pooling in her eyes now. We thought it would stay buried, she whispered. But she found an old box in the attic. What box? It wasn't supposed to be there anymore. I hid it before either of you were born. We forgot it existed. But she covered her mouth. shaking her head. Dad finally looked up. His eyes were cloudy, distant, like he wasn't seeing me, like he was looking through time. It wasn't our decision, he murmured. What happened? It was forced on us. My patience snapped. What was in the damn box? Silence. Then Mom said, a videotape, a journal, letters. From who? She didn't answer. Instead, she walked slowly to a cupboard, retrieved a small metal lockbox, and handed it to me. It was heavy, dusty. The key hung from a thin chain around her neck. We considered destroying it, she said. But we couldn't. We didn't dare. I unlocked the box. Inside were a VHS tape labeled in faded ink, July 1993, Birch Grove Lodge. A slim blue notebook, its cover scratched with a name, Marina. A letter, yellowed and curled at the edges, bearing the warning, do not open unless you value your peace. I swallowed hard. The air seemed heavier. Who's Marina? Mom gave a helpless shrug, but her eyes were full of dread. Lana always asked about her, but we never told her, because Marina, her voice caught, was never supposed to exist. I left their house with the lockbox gripped in my hands like I was carrying a ghost. I placed it in the passenger seat and started the engine. Just as I was about to pull away, my phone buzzed. A text from Lana. You took the box. Good. But I'm warning you. You're not ready to know what's inside. I glanced at the box, and for the first time, I wondered if she was right. I sat in my car on the side of the road, the lockbox resting on my lap. I hadn't even noticed the sun had set. The interior was silent, except for the ticking of the turn signal I'd forgotten to switch off. Every sound felt too loud, every breath too deep. I couldn't decide, drive home, toss the box in the trunk, or throw it in the nearest dumpster. But something inside me pulled the other way. A need to know, a need to understand why everything was unraveling. I glanced at the tape. The corner of the label was smudged, maybe a name once written there, now rubbed away by a careless thumb. We'd used VHS growing up, but now finding something to play it on felt like trying to dig up an artifact. I called Max, childhood friend, tech hoarder, part-time conspiracy theorist. Hey, I said, do you still have that old VCR? Maybe, he replied. What? Trying to relive your parents' wedding? I hesitated. Something a lot worse. By the time I pulled into his driveway, night had fallen. His garage was lit with a single yellow bulb, casting long shadows over dusty shelves. Max greeted me with a beer and a wary look. You look like you've seen a ghost. Maybe I will. I placed the lockbox on the table. Max popped it open and examined the contents. Old TDK. 90s vintage. You seriously don't know what's on it. It was in my parents' safe. Lana found it. After that, they left everything. Huh, Max said, raising an eyebrow. Your sister always had a sharp edge. She learned something, and now it feels like we're all standing on the edge of something terrible. He didn't say anything, just slid the tape into the VCR and queued it up, but didn't press play. You sure? I stared at the blank screen. My own face stared back in its dark reflection. No, but I don't think I have a choice. Still, we didn't press play. Not yet, because right then the garage door creaked open on its own, and there stood Lana. I knew you wouldn't be able to resist, she said quietly. But I'm not here to stop you. Then why? She stepped inside. To tell you one thing. If you press play now, there's no going back. Lana didn't move. She stood still, eyes locked on the screen, as Max pressed play. A low whir, the faint crackle of the tape. A black screen, then static flickered to life. The footage was grainy, yellowed with age and swimming with distortion. The camera wobbled, clearly handheld. A wooden sign came into view. Birch Grove Lodge. That? I whispered. I've never seen that place. Me neither, Lana said. But there was no surprise in her voice, only coldness. The camera moved toward a front door. A young woman, dark hair, laughing, waved at the lens. Something about her face stirred something deep in me. Recognition, but I couldn't place it. Who is she? I asked. Too young to be mom. Too different. Suddenly the footage jumped. New scene. Night. The camera filmed from a window. From inside the building came a scream. A child's scream. Then another. Someone shouted a name. Marina. I felt Max tense beside me. He turned, eyes wide, but I had no answers. The next shot. A blurry child standing near water. Wet hair clung to her face. Her hands covered her eyes. In the background, 2 adults. Their figures were obscured but unmistakable. Our parents, Lana breathed. I nodded. My throat closed up. The camera zoomed in on the child's face. It wasn't disfigured, not physically, but it was twisted in something worse, fear, rage. And then quietly, from an old tape recorder in the frame, came a voice. A young girl's voice. Barely audible. You promised. You said I'd be one of you. The screen flickered. Silence. Lana hit pause. The child's face froze on the screen, a grimace locked in time. Do you understand what this means? She asked. No. But I was lying. Somewhere, deep inside, pieces were beginning to fall into place. Max stepped outside for air. Lana and I were left in the silence. She was our sister, wasn't she? I whispered. Marina? No, Lana replied. She was the first. The first. Their first child. My pulse spiked. Then why did they hide her? What happened to her? Lana looked at the frozen screen, then at me. Because she died. Or they wanted us to think she did. I sat in my car, parked outside Max's house, staring down at my hands. They were trembling. The tape had ended, but the image of that girl, Marina, still lingered behind my eyes. The more I thought about it, the deeper I sank into a swamp of disbelief. This could be fake, I muttered. A hoax. Someone could have edited it. Lana sighed beside me. She hadn't moved, stiff, cold, still. Don't be naive. That footage is older than either of us. It's not from the internet. How do you know? You found it. No, she said. But I found something else. She pulled a notebook from her backpack, the same one from the safe. Blue, scratched, with the name Marina barely legible on the front. I didn't dare touch it. Lana opened a page. Neat, small handwriting, a child's. Today they told me again that I don't exist. But I see myself in the mirror. So I must be real. A chill ran through me. This could be a game. Or a mental illness. Maybe she wasn't real. Maybe it was a miscarriage. Or a failed adoption, I said, clinging to logic like a life raft. Lana looked at me. Her eyes were darker now. What if she was real? Then where is she? Silence. And that's when I realized the real horror wasn't that Marina might have existed. It was the idea that she might still exist. I didn't sleep that night. The windows reflected shards of doubt. I replayed the tape again and again in my mind. The child's voice. You promised. Water, shadows. Then something strange. Something subtle. In the final few seconds of the tape, in the background. A building. Half collapsed. Covered in graffiti. I knew that wall. I lunged for my laptop and scanned through the footage frame by frame. Yes. That was it. The old sanatorium on the edge of town. Abandoned. Shut down before I was even born. And someone was standing near it. I hit pause. A figure. Not a child. An adult. I couldn't make out the face. But the hair wet. Just like the girl in the video. Marina? Or someone who wanted me to believe it was her. The morning was gray and formless. Fog slithered along the roadside like it was searching for something. I drove in silence, no music, no words. Lana hadn't answered my calls. Neither had Max. Birch Grove Lodge stood on the edge of the forest like a rotting heart. Once, people came here to breathe clean air, drink mineral water, heal. Now only peeling walls, dark windows, and silence pressing down like weight. I stopped the car. Sat there, staring at the facade. Cracks ran through the plaster like veins. The old sign was barely legible, but it was this place. The one from the tape. From her journal. Go in or don't. Something inside me resisted. Something whispered, don't. But I come too far. I opened the door. Stepped into the dark. Floorboards groaned. The air was stale, sweet with mold. Graffiti coated the walls. Old notices. Scrawled names. Over and over again, one word. Marina. I moved like in a dream. The hallways felt familiar, though I'd never been here before. Then a sound. Soft. Faint. Childlike laughter. I froze. Who's there? Silence. Then again closer. A high, thin voice, echoing like from the tape. You promised. My heart thundered, drowning out everything else. I pushed forward. Turn after turn. Doors creaked open on their own. Shadows moved when I wasn't looking. And then a room. At the center, an old bed. On it, a notebook. Open. A new entry. I waited. And now you're here. I looked up. Someone was standing in the corner. A woman. Long, wet hair. Her face hidden in shadow. Marina? I whispered. She stepped forward. Another step. She said nothing. I stepped back, but my legs didn't move. The air thickened like water. And then, ping. My phone. A message. From Lana. If you went there, run. She's awake. I looked up. The woman was gone. Only silence. And the overwhelming sense that I was no longer alone. And never had been.